This week on Sneak Previews, Demi Moore in The Juror, the new thriller co-starring sinister Alec Baldwin, and Jeff Bridges in White Squall, a true story about an epic sailing adventure, and Black Sheep, the new slapstick comedy with Chris Farley, and Andy Garcia in Things to Do in Denver When You're Dead, plus Tom Arnold in Big Bully, all in this week's Sneak Previews.
Who's gonna protect you? And I want you to stay at the tree. You will protect me. You will protect me. Stay at the tree. You will protect me.
Sure, put the teacher in jail. You could sizzle Louis Buffano. But what are you gonna do about this drunken Rodney behind the wheel of this car? I'm looking down this road and it's just one big blur to me. I see a boy on a bicycle, and he looks an awful lot to me like, hey.
Oh, God, no! No! Oh, God! Please, no! Who will protect you? The teacher! Who will protect you? The teacher! Who will shield you? Did you say the teacher? The teacher! Say the teacher! Say it! The teacher will protect you! The teacher! Say it! Again!
Wow, that's her own son on the bicycle, so no wonder she's screaming. We won't tell you whether he's killed or injured in that terrifying scene, but we will tell you whether Demi Moore and Alec Baldwin scare up enough thrills in The Juror to give it a verdict of must-see, because The Juror is just one of 5 big movies we review on this week's Sneak Previews. I'm Jeffrey Lyons.
And I'm Michael Medved, and we'll get to The Juror in just a moment. But first, we head out to sea with a spectacular-looking sailing adventure called White Squall, directed by Ridley Scott of Blade Runner and Alien.
What's it gonna be?
Jeff Bridges plays the captain of a sailing ship in this beautifully shot movie based on a true story set in 1961. The ship serves as an ocean-going prep school for teenage boys where, in addition to academic subjects, there's a big emphasis on building character and overcoming fears.
That's it. One hand in front of the other, son. We'll do it together. Don't look down. You look in my eyes. Look in my eyes. Climb. Come on, we'll do it together.
I can't.
You climb, damn it! That's it. You hating this? Are you? Good. Good. Hate your wife another wrong. Do it right now!
The movie dramatizes their adventures, and here, in the midst of the Bay of Pigs crisis, they're intercepted by a Cuban PT boat.
Put up the colors! We're Americans, damn it. Shay! Put up the colors!
Need to sink us?
Take in all sail! Do it now!
Real fast! Keep going! Go!
Who the hell do they think they are?
Identifíquense.
They want us to identify ourselves.
Tell them we're the American school ship, Albatross.
But their biggest challenges come from nature itself, including a potentially deadly storm known as a white squall.
I really enjoyed this movie, Michael, even though early on, even I could spot some of the familiar plot elements. You've got the all-knowing captain, you've got the annoying rich kid, the intrusive rich kid's father, And you've got one kid who's a street punk who has something in his past. Nevertheless, it worked for me because I happen to have been that age back in 1961. I remember the Bay of Pigs crisis. I remember listening to the earliest shots into outer space that you hear on the radio.
Sure.
And most important, this movie captures a sense of the difficult time in a young man's growing up when he leaves childhood or boyhood and begins to enter manhood.
Well, it does do that, and it does that well. And I think we should say it's not just for people who are exactly the same age as you. Otherwise, that would be a somewhat limited audience.
Few people in the world are.
Right. But the problem I had with the film, I liked it on balance. I think the first two-thirds of the film, it just feels a lot of it like killing time until they get to that storm. And the storm is so dramatically well presented. This is the Ridley Scott who did Blade Runner, who did Alien, who did Thelma and Louise. And the images here are as mind-boggling and terrifying as anything in any of the science fiction films. It is absolutely breathtaking, and from that point to the end of the movie, it grips you and it leaves you haunted.
Well, some people have attacked the film, particularly that storm sequence, saying it's too confusing. Well, by God, that's what goes on in a storm sequence. You don't know who lives, and you don't know who dies, and you can't see certain people bobbing in the waves. I did think that the last 10 minutes of the movie in a military inquiry about the events was unnecessary. I wanted to be much more dramatic,
really
but that's what happened. Yeah,
story.
it is a true story.
And I found that very compelling. My big problem with the film was the casting of Jeff Bridges. Not because he's not a fine actor. He's always a terrific actor.
The most underrated actor in films.
He's terrific in this film, too. However, the whole point of the film, it seems to me, is whether the captain is really a good guy who has the kid's interest at heart, or whether he's just sort of a strutting, preening martinet, kind of a mean, self-centered...
Captain Bligh kind of guy.
Yeah, but the problem is Jeff Bridges reads on screen so warm and so charming. He can't help it.
Not always.
I think it undermines the balance of the film. It throws it way over to the side of making him a hero.
I didn't have a problem with him. I have never spent a year on a sailing ship, though I know someone who did, and I think everybody will like this film. It's a coming-of-age film.
Again, there are gorgeous images, even though the first part of the film a little bit slow.
I'm still sticking to the shore. Well, we turn now to Black Sheep, produced by Lorne Michaels, who created TV Saturday Night Live, of course. And this film is directed by Penelope Spheris, who directed the original Wayne's World movie. It's set in Washington State, where Tim Matheson is the challenger in a tight race for governor. Now, the campaign is going well, except for one big problem. Chris Farley plays Matheson's Black Sheep brother, whose campaign tactics need just a bit of fine-tuning.
What the the Marquis doing here?
So the candidate assigns an aide, David Spade, to babysit Farley.
All right, folks, vote for done. Good God, man. Here, let me get that for you, sir. Go down there. I think I can put the groceries in that truck. Little help from the Donnelly campaign.
Back off, Buster.
Come on, Mother. Let me help you, sir.
Get in the car, dear.
All right, Mother. Folks, having a little trouble here. Help! Help, please! He must be all hopped up on crack cocaine.
Lord, Harold.
I can't! I can't! Good, I think I've lost him. Please!
Okay. Good first day.
Eventually, Farley and Spade are sent to a remote cabin far from the campaign. But no matter where they are, Farley is driving Spade batty.
I think I got it.
No way.
I think it's in there.
Well, then look.
You look.
All right, we'll both look together.
1, 2.
Now, you idiot! You can't catch a bat with a pot, moron. You take a mop, a broom. Oh, God!
I think this is the movie for those people who find Jim Carrey's humor just too sophisticated for them. It's terrible. I mean, I enjoyed Tommy Boy a lot. I mean, I thought Tommy Boy had warmth to it. It had some real laughs. This film doesn't have a single laugh. Penelope Spheris is a fine director. She was terrific with Wayne's World, but there it used wit. Here it just uses dumb slapstick gags that are badly staged. The timing is all wrong. And what they do is they put this little ginky music to show you it's supposed to be funny.
And also, they take the same characters from Tommy Boy, essentially, and move them over here, and it doesn't work. I mean, David Spade is the same wisecracking guy who's funny on Saturday Night Live and was funny in Tommy Boy, but here he's just been transported to this new setting, and you never get a sense that Farley, who is such a wonderful comic, can do anything but get his tie caught in the car and get dragged on a plane, and it looks very good in the promos on TV, but it doesn't work over the length of a feature film.
It certainly doesn't, and I think we should say the film is more than just gross and dumb and unfunny.
It's not gross enough, even, to please.
It's also offensive, and what I found offensive about it is all the jokes about drugs. I mean, we really should have come a ways in this country where we don't have a major studio showing scenes with 12-year-olds smoking pot, and that's ha, ha, ha. There are 3 different scenes where the main characters get stoned, and that's supposed to be laughable, and it definitely is glamorized, and parents are going to be really upset about kids going to see that.
It's also never explained why Farley is the way he is. What's behind this character besides a fat guy who does silly slapstick things, but it is good as heart, but as good as heart. Underneath it all, he's got a good, genuine heart. We never understand anything about his character beyond that silliness.
The whole movie has a feeling of low budget to it, too, I think we should say. It's supposed to be Washington State. It clearly isn't Washington. It doesn't look anything like it. It's all shot in Southern California. But they not only saved money there, they obviously saved money by having no screenplay at all, with an incredibly dumb subplot about vote fraud.
What a waste of the talent of Chris Farley and David Spade, too.
He's a naturally funny guy,
and
I wanted to laugh very much at this movie, but there are only groans, no laughter here at all. Well, now we move on to The Juror. Now, this is a very different film. This is a new thriller starring Alec Baldwin and Demi Moore. A brutal mobster is on trial for murder, and Moore plays a struggling artist and single mom who gets assigned to the jury. Alec Baldwin plays a gangster who works for the accused man, and at first he pretends to be just a wealthy art collector who's interested in Demi's work. But after taking her out to dinner, it becomes clear he has a more complicated agenda.
Annie, listen to me now. You're in danger, and your son is in danger.
Oliver, what do you mean? Where's my son?
He went with Jesse and Julia to the movies, didn't he? He's gonna be all right. Such an extraordinary child. Remember last night when the 2 of you were playing that video game upstairs and you started to panic and he said, "Chill out, Mamba." Remember that?
How do you know that?
Annie, when I heard the 2 of you together laughing, I swore to myself that I would do everything to make sure that he gets through this. Do you understand me, Annie? This is a very dangerous time for him. He could stray. He could commit some childish error, and we could lose him. That quick.
Baldwin uses every form of manipulation and terror to control the juror and her life while struggling to get an acquittal for his boss. And meanwhile, their relationship becomes much closer than she wants.
Don't you talk to me about love and forgiveness. Oh, I hate you. You know what? I would kill you if I could. Or is this the lesson for today, teacher? Or is it how terror is doing me so much good? How strong it's gonna make me? Or is it how your love is gonna save my child?
Annie.
Shut up. Don't you smile at me. Don't you ever think you can smile at me. Don't you even look at me. You wanna know what I hate most? I hate that you were right. I am stronger.
I'll tell you, my verdict is case dismissed on this movie, Michael. It just didn't do it for me. I've seen the promos everywhere, and the movie really runs out of ideas. I mean, it is preposterous that a juror whose child is being threatened, whose home is being bugged, wouldn't stop and go to the judge and tell him. And she does do that, and what happens there is absurd, too. The whole thing is so manipulative. I did like Tony Lobianco as the gangster. He's a wonderful actor. But the scene where he's involved with Baldwin is also not believable. And after a while, the movie doesn't know what to do with this premise. It runs out of ideas.
I agree with you that it runs out of ideas, and certainly the last part of the movie is not tight at all. It sort of wanders.
Silly.
However, I like the film. And I was terribly impressed by all of the acting, especially Alec Baldwin. He has never, ever been so good in a film. He creates a character who is so fascinating, so complex, is both charming and suave and hateful and sadistic. And, you know, it really does work very, very well to me until the very end when they go to Latin America. They go to Guatemala. And I just wish for once we could have people going to Latin America in a movie where there wouldn't be a fiesta down there.
Yeah, you'd rather have a siesta than a fiesta. But this is, I think you like Baldwin, and I did too, because we usually see him as heroes, except for perhaps a brief scene in Glengarry Glen Ross where he's giving them a lecture. He's never seen as anybody as sinister, but after a while, his character becomes tedious. You don't understand how he gets his expertise and his rapport with her.
He played the same kind of part in Malice. He does it much better here. And part of the reason is the ensemble acting is really superb. It's excellent. Anne Hetch, who's a star from TV, is terrific, has a very sexy scene-stealing
Which was totally needless after a while.
It gives you the context of her life.
Just to make the film naughty and kind of risque. It was nonsense.
I also like the fact that director Brian Gibson, who previously directed What's Love Got to Do with It, which also had a terrific cast, good performances from everybody, but I like the fact that he de-glamorizes Demi Moore. She's not shown as sexy or seductive at all here. He emphasizes sort of the strength and the rage that is building in her, and I thought she does a fine job with it.
But that also emphasizes the fact that the script comes to a sudden stop after the trial, and after that, everything else is just tedium.
You know, the interesting thing is it's the same kind of problem. In What's Love Got to Do with It, also, it wasn't a really structured, tight movie, but that was okay because it was based on real events.
That was horrifying.
This one is just, it is contrived, and the end of it doesn't work at all. It, by the way, is terribly reminiscent about a movie we saw 2 years ago called Trial by Jury with Joanne Whaley Kilmer and Armand Assante.
Another reason not to recommend this film. Well, our next movie is Things to Do in Denver When You're Dead, starring Andy Garcia as a reformed mobster named Jimmy the Saint, who's now trying to go straight. One night in a Denver bar, he meets an alluring young ski instructor played by Gabrielle Anwar and finds out she has a most unusual first name.
Dagny, that's your name? Tremendous name. My name is Jimmy, and I just have one simple impulsive question. Are you in love?
What?
At the present time, are you in love?
Why?
Because if you are, then I won't waste your time. I'm really not the type of man to impede another man's happiness. However, if you're not presently in love, then I will continue my rhapsody, because if I may say so, Dagny, you are most definitely the bee's knee.
Well, there is someone.
But?
We date. I have memorized his phone number, but I won't use his toothbrush. We're somewhere in between. And he's crazy about me.
As he should be. You glide.
I glide?
You glide. It's a very attractive quality.
But Garcia can't get away from his past life, and here he's summoned to see a wheelchair-bound mobster, played by who else? Christopher Walken, who says Garcia owes him a favor.
I got a call in the note.
What do you mean you got a call in the note? I didn't take the note off of you. I took it off of New Orleans South.
Took it off New Orleans South? Who do you think New Orleans South took it off of?
You ain't no entrepreneur, Jimmy. I need a crew. Maybe 4.
I worship you. I'm paying 50 G's straight out. It's just an action. Split it any way you want.
Look at this. Look at this. All the Pig brothers from back in the day.
Garcia turns to ex-cons and old friends to help him with his dangerous assignment.
Big bad franchise.
You with my brother from another mother.
Pieces Palomeros. Hey, man, nobody told me about this booyah, man.
Well, nobody told me I'd been humping with no inky.
All right, easy, boys. Settle down.
No, Jimmy, I can't roll with this. No way.
Hey, watch your mouth. Man, you boys used to be real close. What?
He usually wouldn't spend his time in a joint raping kids.
Children here, man. Sit down. They're children here, man. Sit down. There are children here.
Sit down. Get down.
That malt shop.
Sorry, Malt.
Sit down.
It's okay, kids.
You know, this is a terrible movie, but it has elements
Keen
that
observer of the obvious that you are,
It has
right?
elements that keep impressing me. I mean, it's one of the weirdest things where you are very sure that everybody involved is going to go on and do better work. I mean, it is a young screenwriter named Scott Rosenberg. It's his first produced screenplay, and he has a very interesting cadence to his writing. I like things like where he says to Gabrielle Anwar, "You glide," and then they explain that. And everybody in the movie has a funny name. Christopher Walken is the man with a plan. There's a hitman called Mr. Shush, and that you learn all kinds of mob lingo that is sort of buckwheat. So I never knew what buckwheat was.
Yeah, haven't you seen it before, some of it, and Get Shorty in a much better way?
Well, it's much more in Pulp Fiction. He's trying much too hard to be Quentin Tarantino, is Scott Rosenberg, and it's directed by an old friend of his from Boston University named Gary Flater, where it's also, everything is just so serious, and every beam in the ceiling is lit by a different glowing light.
Yeah,
it's just overdone.
You get the sense that everybody is also trying for an Oscar nomination.
Yeah.
In fact, I saw this late last year, so it would qualify, despite its its quirky title. And there are a lot of good roles, particularly Treat Williams as a psycho, and William
He's over the
Forsythe
top.
is very good. And any movie which has Jack Warden, here he's seen briefly and he's the narrator. He's my favorite actor.
Yeah.
That can't be all bad. But I'm a big fan of Andy Garcia, but this is 2 films in a row, from Steal Big, Steal Little to this one.
Steal
that
Big,
are
Steal Little was much worse. Much worse.
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
that's
at least
just the film
this one, you know, Andy
assert
Garcia
itself.
was kind of acting, and I found his role interesting. The film just goes on and on and on forever, and the whole thing is, at one point, after hits go out on everybody, why don't they leave Denver? Christopher Lloyd is there playing a leper named Pieces, who keeps having pieces of his fingers
too many things about
fall
too
off.
many characters, and you don't spend enough. Christopher Walken is wonderful as the creep, he always is, but you've seen him do that before, but there are too many of these little superficial things about the characters, and we never get the chance to get a layer or two deeper.
Trying much too hard to be serious and important and let the story tell itself next time, Gary Flater. An interesting director, look forward to better work. Well, finally we turn to Big Bully. Now this one stars Tom Arnold, everyone's favorite, and Rick Moranis, and they play old acquaintances from junior high who reunite after 20 years. Moranis plays a novelist who comes back to his hometown in Minnesota to teach creative writing. And Tom Arnold plays the shop teacher and one-time big bully who soon is back to his old tricks.
Have a nice trip.
So you say he hounds you for no apparent reason?
Ow, sissy fighter! Ha!
That he chases you down the street screaming your name?
Dad, Miss Larry?
Chicken! Pork roast!
But why?
Well, he's been picking on me.
Picking on you?
Yes! In your face!
Arnold feels invigorated by all this craziness, and he starts to assert himself with his obnoxious family.
Daddy's home! Kyle, untie your brother now and get up to bed. Bobby, get a bucket of hot soapy water, wash that wall, and then go right to bed. Tommy, come over here. Come here, go eat your vegetables right now. We're going to be eating broccoli for the rest of your life. And then go to bed. Faith, now you're my wife. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to get up real early and go down to the lumber station and buy myself a brand new power sander.
Well, we can't afford it.
But we can afford it, honey. That's the great news. We're just going to cut out some extras around here, like facials and manicures and cigarettes and tabs.
But
And another thing, honey, I think we watch a little too much TV. And you!
Yeah?
Actually, you're pretty good.
Well, that kid may be pretty good, but this film is pretty bad.
I think you're much too kind.
I am being too kind, actually. Like Rick Moranis, who always plays kind people, or often plays kind people, as he does here. What a waste of his talent. It's a general rule of thumb that any time a studio sees a movie and decides to keep it away from critics and dump it into a theater on Friday, the film deserves a collar and a leash, and that's what happened
And
here.
some flea powder in this case.
Yes, and they deal so loosely with a real psychological problem of kids who are victimized by bullies, and they play loosely with it and turn into a stupid slapstick comedy.
Well, it sounds like somebody picked on you in junior high school, but
We were all
you know,
victims.
the truth is, the problem with the film isn't that it makes fun of that, it's that it combines making fun of it with some very serious, scary scenes that are flashbacks to when they're both boys, where this child is really terribly abused. It's not funny to watch. It's not pleasant to watch. This is one of the worst movies of the year, I'm almost sure. I mean, it makes, you know, in comparison, it makes even Black Sheep look like Citizen Kane. The slapstick isn't funny. Tom Arnold is a disgrace. I mean, he obviously embarrassed himself by some of his presentation a couple of weeks ago at the Golden Globes. This is much more embarrassing. There isn't a decent performance in the film. There isn't a funny line. And you know what amazes me about it most? Look at the talent involved. This is from the producer of Sleepless in Seattle. It's from the writer of Grumpy Old
Carol
Men.
Kane in the cast, who's always a good actress.
and the
Even
direct-
Don Knotts makes a cameo. Some funny people.
The director here, Steve Miner, is best known for a wonderful, very sensitive view of childhood on TV, The Wonder Years. Here, it's like there's a different guy.
You know, we talked about running out of ideas, at least I did, when it came to The Juror. In this movie, it runs out of ideas as soon as the older kid starts bullying the younger guy. You know, and then there's a subplot here that doesn't work, too, about their kids.
See, the whole thing, they treat it like a Tom and Jerry cartoon. It's cat and mouse, but it's much too sadistic for that. Absolutely no laughs in the picture. A disaster.
Quit picking on me. Well, now to summarize the movies we covered this week. Our best bet is White Squall. Even though the first part of the film moves slowly, the climactic storm, when it finally arrives, leaves you overwhelmed and moved. The film is rated PG-13 with some tough language and several sex scenes and references, but not much violence except for the intense natural violence of wind and waves. We both give black marks to Black Sheep. Sleep, a gross, stupid, repetitive comedy that delivers no laughs, wasting the talented Chris Farley. There is considerable harsh language, some vulgar sexual references, and 3 gratuitous drug scenes, I should say. On The Juror, we disagreed once again. I thought it was contrived and preposterous, running out of ideas about halfway through its implausible plot. But Michael thought that the spellbinding career-best performance by Alec Baldwin and solid work by everyone else in the cast made it watchable despite its flaws. It's rated R for lots of tough language, some sex scenes and nudity, plus a great deal of terrifying violence. On Things to Do in Denver When You're Dead, well, we agree this film doesn't give you anything to do in Denver or anywhere else. It's a stilted, over-the-top, pretentious imitation of Pulp Fiction with non-stop foul language, kinky sex, and lots of grotesque and gory violence. And we also urge you to skip Big Bully, a film that's too nasty to be funny. There's lots of violence that's supposed to get laughs, but will only draw groans.
So that's it for this week's show, Groan. Please join us next time when we review John Travolta and Christian Slater in the explosive new thriller, Broken Arrow. Bottle Rocket, the bittersweet story of 3 young friends with dreams of criminal glory, and Beautiful Girls with Uma Thurman, Matt Dillon, Timothy Hutton, and Mira Sorvino about small-town friends at their high school reunion. Plus, other new films, all on the next Sneak Previews. I'm Michael Medved.
And I'm Jeffrey Lyons, and until next time on Sneak Previews, don't forget to save us the aisle seats.